When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him. I understand him. I want to make something clear. I would still kick the living fuck. Because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
Here's the rewritten version with a clear numbering format and different wording. Andrew Tate just blasted Jake Paul, comparing it to a bulldozer tearing through a sandcastle, and honestly, it was spectacular. He didn't mince words, labeling Jake as, frankly, a total jerk. Tate accused Jake of showing blatant disrespect toward boxing, a sport cherished by billions, and dragging its reputation through the mud. But Jake didn't stop there.
I'm not some washed-up UFC fighter. I'm not smaller than him. I would beat the living shit out of him, and if he wants to fight, I'll fight him any day of the week, and I'll fucking wreck him, and he knows.
He even brought a living legend, Mike Tyson, into his over-the-top spectacle of a fight. Not only did Jake ruin the event, but he also disrespected Tyson's legacy. And for what? To snag a few more clicks on Instagram? Andrew wasn't about to let it slide. He squarely blamed Jake for the entire fiasco, branding it an insult to combat sports and a slap in the face to Tyson's remarkable career.
However, I do understand what he's doing. I understand that he is very, very smart, even with his marketing angle. I'm just a YouTuber. You're not just a YouTuber. You're a full-grown man with the best coaches in the world who's dedicated his life to learning how to box for years. You know how to box. You're not a complete amateur. You know how to box very well. 3, 4, 5 years of training combat sports. You can box. The guy's not a jackass.
The worst part, Jake doesn't even have the decency to feel remorseful. It's the height of shamelessness, and Andrew is making sure his voice is heard. Andrew Tate tore into Jake Paul on live TV, and honestly, it was overdue. Jake, who calls himself the savior of boxing, has a fight record that's as questionable as his hairstyles. 6 wins, 1 loss, and fans who are louder about his TikToks than his punches. This guy acts like he's revolutionized the sport. Meanwhile, Tate's 76 professional kickboxing wins, 23 knockouts, and 0 tolerance.
I made a video that called out Jake Paul.
$3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. You know my name, Andrew Tate. I will fight you any day, anytime. Let's fucking go. If I were to fight Jake Paul, I would take it completely seriously as a real fight, and I'd whoop his ass. I'd beat him. Jake. Everyone thinks he's just some YouTube.
For Jake's antics speak for themselves. In a genuine competitive setting, Jake wouldn't even pass the first round of tryouts. Jake's latest stunt? Dragging a 58-year-old Mike Tyson out of retirement for what he called a fight. Seriously, who does that? Tyson is a legend, a hall of famer who's earned his peace in retirement. But Jake turned it into a pay-per-view stunt and slapped the word fight on it. Tate didn't sugarcoat his thoughts, calling it a complete joke. This isn't boxing. It's Jake's ego trip masquerading as entertainment, and Tate's done staying quiet about it.
But he is not just a YouTuber. He is a young man training with Canelo and Ryan Garcia.
When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him.
Having fought elite athletes for over a decade, Tate called out Jake for padding his record with opponents who either shouldn't be in the ring or are retired and collecting paychecks. Let's break down Jake's greatest hits. A YouTuber, a retired basketball player, and some former MMA fighters, whose boxing skills couldn't cut through butter. And, of course, the Tyson debacle. If Jake spent even half the time training as he does cherry-picking opponents, maybe he'd earn some respect. But this is the reality. When Tate called Jake a clown,
he is a very fortunate young man. And he's fortunate because he's extremely rich, because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot. But he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
It wasn't just trash talk. It was the truth. Jake Paul is like the guy who shows up to a formal event in a costume and expects to be taken seriously. He's playing dress-up, and everyone sees through it. Tate's message to Jake was simple. Ditch the gimmicks, step into the ring with a legitimate fighter, and prove if there's any real talent behind the social media hype. Tate, who has dedicated years to mastering his craft against skilled fighters, stands in stark contrast to Jake, who prioritizes self-promotion over genuine skill. Jake's like the player who skips practice but still demands to be the captain. It's embarrassing. If these two ever face off, Tate wouldn't just win. He'd dismantle Jake in front of his own fan base. And honestly, that's the wake-up call Jake desperately needs.
but I'd still whoop his ass. but I would whoop his ass. But he wouldn't take a fight against me because when he loses, I'm not nearly on his level of fame, right? So like he lost to who? Whereas if he loses to Conor McGregor, it's no big deal. Well, he lost to Conor McGregor, who cares, right? That's what it's about. But yeah,
it's still a win for him.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Jake Paul dragging Mike Tyson into a fight because it deserves its own special roast. Jake challenging Tyson at this stage of his life is like racing a retired Olympian and calling it a fair match. It's not just disrespectful, it's desperate. But desperation has become Jake's signature move. Andrew Tate didn't hold back, and neither should we. If you're fighting someone 31 years older than you, it's not a competition. It's borderline elder abuse. Andrew might never stoop to that level, but Jake would because he seems to lack both decency and common sense. On paper, Jake Paul and Andrew Tate might seem evenly matched. Both over 6 feet tall, weighing between 190 to 200 pounds. But skill and experience aren't written on paper. Tate's been fighting professionally for over a decade. Jake, he's been dabbling in boxing for about 4 years, most of which he's spent figuring out how to make his fights trend on social media. The guy's more of a marketing machine than an athlete.
I am ready. Come on. Fight. Hey. Let's go. Fight. Hey. Fight. Hey. Go. Fight. Hey. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Hey. Work. Work.
Tate has always made it clear that Mike Tyson is more than just a name in boxing. He's a living legend who shaped the sport. Tate respects Tyson as fighters should, with honor, not exploitation. For Tate, this isn't about PR or trending hashtags. He openly calls Tyson one of the greatest, and unlike Jake, Tate would never use Tyson's name for a cheap publicity. Stunt 5. Jake Paul, however, thought that fighting a 58-year-old Tyson was somehow a brilliant career move. Fighting might even be too strong a word. Exploiting is more accurate. Jake didn't see Tyson as a retired legend who's earned his rest.
Drew, fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker, strong mentality. I'm sorry, Tristan Tate is the weak link.
I say let's
He got a bad shoulder. He's shaped like a gingerbread man. I don't want no beef, but that's delusion.
PFO will set this up.
Uh-oh. A MMA double tag team match.
10 million for everybody.
You might have a fight.
He saw him as a shortcut to more headlines. The sad part? Jake probably thought this would earn him credibility as a real boxer. Andrew Tate sees Tyson as a figure whose legacy deserves to be protected, not turned into a cash grab. Tate called Jake out for what this fight really was, a desperate attempt to stay relevant. And he's absolutely right. Even Tyson, far too classy to call Jake out directly, has subtly highlighted the massive gap between Tate and Jake. The difference is obvious. Tyson respects people like Tate because they've put in the work, taken the hits, and earned their place in combat sports. Jake, on the other hand, operates like a walking billboard for his next viral moment. The contrast couldn't be starker. Tate carries himself with dignity, while Jake is all about self-promotion. Speaking of promotion, the thought of Jake and his brother Logan facing Andrew and Tristan Tate in a cage fight sounds like pure internet chaos.
2 brothers, 1 cage. Jake, Logan, you, Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful. But of course, I have absolute faith in myself and my brother, and I know what we've been through, and I know the kind of men we are.
Andrew's trying to live peacefully these days, dodging controversies and even mentioning that the Matrix is out to get him. But he also knows the strength and resilience he and his brother bring to the table. Respect is everything in combat sports. It's what separates legends from pretenders. Tate's respect for Tyson is genuine. It comes from understanding the sacrifices and hard work that define a fighter's career. Jake Paul, on the other hand, wouldn't recognize respect if it hit him with a left hook. His entire career revolves around handpicking opponents who either don't box professionally or are well past their prime. Fans and analysts were quick to see through Jake's stunt. Fighting Tyson at 58 wasn't a bold move. It was a blatant cash grab. The disrespect to Tyson and the sport was enough to outrage the entire combat sports community. People are now looking to Andrew Tate to step in and give Jake the reality check he's been avoiding for years. Let's not kid ourselves. Jake knows exactly what he's doing. He spent years dodging real fighters and curating a fake legacy. But Andrew Tate isn't a retired MMA fighter chasing a paycheck. He's a former kickboxing world champion with 76 professional wins and experience Jake can only dream about. If these two ever face off, it won't be a fight. It'll be a dismantling. Tate would cut through Jake like a buzzsaw through cardboard, and even Jake knows it. The media is having a field day with the possibility of this matchup, and the internet is exploding with memes, debates, and predictions. For Andrew Tate, this would be an opportunity to remind the world what a true fighter looks like. For Jake Paul, it would be a chance to prove he's more than just a glorified YouTuber. But let's be real, Jake's chances of pulling that off are slim to none. Here's a rewritten version with adjusted wording. Let me break it down for you about combat sports. There are countless fighters out there who may never achieve the fame or fortune Jake Paul has, but they could easily beat the living daylights out of him. Fighting a 57-year-old former champion or a 58-year-old legend. That says everything you need to know. Jake's entire shtick revolves around this pattern, facing opponents who are either far past their prime, significantly smaller, or both. And now he's taking on Mike Tyson, a nearly 60-year-old boxing icon. Sure, it's going to make a ton of money for both of them, but let's be honest, it's not about the sport, it's about the spectacle. Andrew Tate has revealed some bizarre details about a potential fight contract with Jake Paul. The two have been trading insults online for months, but no one expected things to escalate this seriously. Andrew made it clear, if you want to fight and you're serious, send me a contract. I'll take a few weeks off from my retired life to beat the entitlement out of you. He's not here for the drama, he's here for action. Jake's track record speaks volumes. He fought Tommy Fury and lost, but where's the rematch? Instead of taking on real challenges, he sticks to fighting older, less threatening opponents. Say what you want, though. He wins, he makes money, and he's built a brand. Now the idea of a potential clash between the two brothers, Jake and Logan, facing Andrew and Tristan Tate in a cage fight, has been floated. Andrew himself admitted he's trying to avoid unnecessary internet beefs, but his confidence in himself and his brother is unshakable. Andrew Tate, the self-proclaimed top G, has been at odds with Jake Paul for what feels like an eternity. Jake, on the other hand, has been on a mission to prove he's more than just a hype-driven fighter. What better way to silence critics than by stepping into the ring with someone like Andrew Tate, who constantly boasts about his unbeatable record? Rumors suggest the fight could happen in Romania, but honestly, the location isn't the point. It's the animosity between these two that will make this fight explosive. They can't stand each other, and that tension is going to be the driving force behind what could be one of the most talked about matches in recent memory. So here we are, two massive personalities, one big stage, Jake versus Andrew Tate. It's not just about boxing anymore, it's about pride, legacy, and settling the score.